my king over because I just wasn't sure which pawn to move, so I thought I would just protect him with the king. He played f4, attacking the bishop, dropped it back to f6. Then he played bishop to h5, and I didn't play the best move here. The best move is just simple pawn to c6. That would have been the best move. The reason it would have been the best move, you'll see what happens after the move I played. I played bishop back to e6, which I didn't have to do, and Danny took advantage of that and took over the diagonal, and so that h1 a8 diagonal is now white's, and it didn't have to be that way. I could have kept my bishop challenging it. So he kind of took that diagonal away from me and improved his bishop. Now I played c6 just to kind of blunt it and make a square for my king on c7. He played king f2, traded off a pair of rooks, and then I offered a draw here. And, being, 300 points lower rated than Danny, that would have been, or actually 400 points, that would have been fine with me, obviously, taking a draw here, especially with the weakened the pawn islands. But Danny, wasn't having it and played on, and so that was okay. Then he played a3. I played b6, and then king g2 came. Bishop to b3, hitting his rook, and actually I kind of knew I was improving his rook because he just played rook d2, which is natural, and the rook's actually better on d2 because it protects the 7th, and but I just wanted to see what he would do. I brought the bishop back. A better move here would have been pawn to e6. That would have been a little bit better, but I played bishop to e6. And now it's Danny's turn to kind of go a little bit astray here. We're getting, the time is going to be a factor in this game. There's going to be time pressure, and unfortunately Danny is going to fall into time pressure. And I don't care how good you are, just nobody plays as well as they normally do when they're in time pressure. You just, I honestly think it costs you about 100 rating points when you get in time pressure, because you just don't think as clearly. There's just this pressure, and it's very easy to slip up, and you're going to see actually that happen in the game. So he played h3, and the better plan here was, and I'll show it to you, was bishop e4, attacking the isolated pawn here on h7. And let's say I move the pawn up the board, then he follows up with this move, pawn to f5, hitting the bishop. I have to move it, and then he has bishop f4, and you can see white's bishops now are coming alive. Check to the king. King has to drop, and now he can improve his king to f3. And now he's got a plan. He can start to move those pawns on the king side up the board, and if I take, then he has an outside, past h pawn. And it just gives him a little bit more to work with over there. And black's passive. My king is horrible. It's back here. My rook's, not doing anything. He's got the file. White's got a lot of pluses in this position, and he's playing for the win, definitely. But in the game, it's funny how these endings, you have to be so accurate, because one little mistake, and it's easy to go. He played h3 here, and that doesn't look like a big mistake, but I play bishop h4, and now I'm the one kind of getting the initiative here. Obviously, the bishop can't be taken because of the pin by the rook on g8. He played bishop f2 to protect the pawn. I played f5. See, I'm getting the pawns rolling, and so it's a little better for black now. He moved his king out of the pin, so my bishop's hanging, so I retreated it. He brought the bishop to e3, and now it's about equals again. We're back to about an equal position. And bishop here to f7, and he played g4. I played e6, and he moved on. He played g5, which looks natural, but I just dropped the bishop back. And it looks like white's making progress here with his pawns. But after he played, now he should have challenged my bishop. Bishop to d4 is the best move here, because I'm going to be left with a bad bishop, and he's going to have a good bishop, and that's the computer move, and it's the move I kind of was expecting. I didn't want him to play it, but I was a little worried about it, and I guess I got lucky because he didn't play it. He played pawn to h4, and that allowed this shot, e5. And now I am starting to attack his pawns, and I get that off a light square, the pawn on e6. And he brought his king up. I continued on. Now I've got a passed pawn, and that's very powerful. And now he actually brought the bishop back to the wrong square. He played it back to e2, but actually the better square was g2. And the reason it's better is because he can come around to h3 and attack this pawn on f5, and I have to guard it with my rook there, or if I, it just ties me down. It's pressure on the pawn, and his bishop's doing something. But in the game, he brought it back to e2, and then I played h6, and he played h5, and again, it's looking a little dangerous for black, but no problem, just take, and he took back, and then I said check, and now he's got to be a little careful here. Can't play the wrong move. Wrong move is bishop f4. It would not be good. Bang, rook takes, pawn check, and there goes a piece, right? So he can't do that. So Danny spotted that, and he just moved his king to h4. And again, these two pawns on h5 and g5 look like they could, maybe be dangerous. I mean, maybe he can get a queen there. So I've still got to be a little careful. I marched on with my pawn to f4, right? Passed pawns must be pushed. And he moved his bishop, and now he's offering the trade, which I take. And now I push on to f3. And now my pawns are starting to get dangerous. So he makes a decision to sack the bishop. And now we have an interesting endgame here, where white's got two connected passers, but black's got a bishop. And so the question is, what's better? But in time trouble, you really got to play accurately, and it's tough. And Danny here had about a minute, and I had about 5 minutes, and we both had a 5-second delay. So he had to really move pretty quickly here. I brought my king over, and he played rook to e3. And that allowed me to attack the pawn. And now he only has one move. Otherwise, he's going to lose the pawn. So that's the only move. He's got to play h6. But that allows the blockading move, bishop to g6, just stopping those pawns in the track. And now I feel a lot safer, that they're stopped. He played, let's see, what did I do here? Let's go back. Yeah, stop the bishop g6, rook. He played to e2. And now these moves were all in time pressure, and neither of us were keeping score, so we reconstructed it as best we could after the game. This is pretty close to what happened. There might have been a few in-between moves, but basically this is the ending. I activated my rook. He played king over. I got my rook behind him. He played rook. Now he's threatening, after rook h2, he's threatening to play pawn to h7 and make me give up my bishop. So I checked the king. His king moved to f4. I checked him again to see where he'd go. He came back, and now I blockaded the pawn. So now this is interesting. Let's see, can he? No, there's a trick here. Yeah, if he pushes the pawn to g6, and then I check him and I pick it up with my rook. So that trick doesn't work. And he played a bad move here, rook d2 check, which allowed the king to come in. And probably a better move for him would have been king h5. And now he's threatening to play g6 here and attack the bishop. That would have been a better try. And I can't check him because the rook's on h2. But he played rook check, which allows my king in, and check me again. My king gets closer, and he moved his king. I checked him, and unfortunately he went to the wrong square. And he grabbed his king and he touched it and put it on h5. And then he saw that it was mate in one with bishop to g6, and he resigned instantly. So there it was. That was my game against Daniel Berman, and it was at the Santa Monica Bay Chess Club at the Quads. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.